Dav Samach Tes Amud Aleph will begin Dav Samach Ches Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. We're holding in the middle of the sugya the machlokes between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer if the shvus of the involved in the Korban Pesach is a Deiches Shabbos. Meaning, for example, can you bring the carbon from outside the Tchum? Can you bring it if your dalit falls out on Shabbos? Can you bring it from outside the Tchum? So Rabbi Yeshua says that we don't allow you to bring that even though the Korban Pesach is Deiches Shabbos, but these are machshirim, it's not Deiches Shabbos, and Rabbi Eliezer says that it is Deiches Shabbos. So we have the dion in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that Rabbi Eliezer says it's a kal v'chaimer. Madach shchita, which is a deraisa, is Deiches Shabbos. The shchita of the Korban Pesach is Deiches Shabbos. Something which is a shvus, bringing it from outside the Tchum, certainly should be Deiches Shabbos. Rabbi Yeshua said, well, Yontav Yechiach. I'll show you, Yontav is not that way. We are matir deraisas, cooking is mutar on Shabbos, but shvus, adrabanan, for instance, bringing it from outside the Tchum is also. Rabbi Eliezer says, what kind of a raya are you bringing me from Yontav? There, it's a rishus. That's a rishus, and over here we're dealing with a mitzvah. So we learned in the Gemara previously that the basis of machlokes is that Rabbi Eliezer holds that the simcha of the Yontav, the Suda, the Mishnah on Yontav is a rishus, because you can be mekayim it with Kula El Hashem. It doesn't have to be done through a Mishnah. It could be done through learning and davening a whole day. And that's what Rabbi Eliezer holds. And Rabbi Yeshua holds that no, it's a chayva. So therefore he does have a valid raya from Yontav, because it is a mitzvah over there. That is a mitzvah, and nevertheless, we are not matir shvus. So here also we should not matir shvus. So Zok the Gemara. Amar Ravashi Ulamaida Kama Rabbi Eliezer Yontav Rishus, even according to what Rabbi Eliezer Shita is, he holds the Yontav as a Rishus, Islay Percha, we have a kasha. What's the kasha? Uma Yontav Shehita B'malach Shel Rishus. You're telling me that the Mishnah on Yontav is a Rishus. Well, the Torah is matir bishul on Yontav, even though it's a Rishus, and even though it's a Rishus, and Lahita Shus Shema. But we weren't matir the derabanan, so we were matir bishul on Yontav, but not bringing it from outside the Tchum. So Shabbos, on Shabbos shleihiter ba'malach shel mitzvah, where we're not matir rishus, it's only a mitzvah. The Korban Pesach is a mitzvah. We're only matir that. Ein adin shleitata shvus shema. So certainly we should not be matir the shvus. Madach, we say over here that on Yontav. So you, Rabbi Eliezer, hold that Yontav is a rishus. And the Torah is matir the rishus. It's not. We're not matir the shvus. So Shabbos, where we're not matir rishus, we're only matir a mitzvah. So certainly we should not be matir a rishus. So there'd be a kash on Rabbi Eliezer. But Rabbi Eliezer, he says no. Shvus the mitzvah all different. And a chanami, that's true. But seif kol seif, the shvus in question on Yontav, the shvus is for the rishus. We're not matir that. Over here, even though Shabbos is chamor, but what's in question over here is a shvus of a mitzvah. A shvus of mitzvah, we will be matir. So therefore, there's no pirchum. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Umali. For what reason should I be answer these machshirim? Why should I answer a machshir mitzvah? If I say a machshir mitzvah, that's after the shchita's Deiches Shabbos, this avlei mitzvah, even though we're mekayim the mitzvah, we're matir the machshirin, layitcha machshir mitzvah shalifnei shchita's Shabbos. So certainly the machshirim that where I have not yet been mekayim mitzvah, meaning, for instance, bringing the carbon, the animal from outside the Tchum, I have not yet been matir, certainly should be Deiches Shabbos. So madach I'm matir the machshirin, even though I've already been mekayim the mitzvah. But to do something which is not an essential part of the mitzvah, I'm still matir. So Rashi gives the example of the michui krovo, that I allow to remove the waste from the carbon. So that's not an essential part of the mitzvah. I can be Yotze without that, but it's a covenant for the mitzvah. And nevertheless, I'm matya that. So certainly to bring the animal from outside its home, which without it I can't be mekayim the mitzvah. I haven't been mekayim the mitzvah, and won't be able to mekayim it at all without doing this. Certainly that should be doicha. I should be doicha for that. That's the example that Rashi brings. Rashi says that that's an example, but Taisus argues and he says no, because the Michli Krova you cannot do, that cannot be done before Shabbos. So that's not an example of the Machshirin. Machshirin, according to Taisus, is something that can be done either before or afterwards. So Taisus rather gives the example of the Haktoras Chalavim, or the Haktoras Emurim, which is something which can be done Motzei Shabbos. It doesn't have to be done on Shabbos. Nevertheless, we allow you to burn it on Shabbos. Now, this is something that does not have to be done on Shabbos. The Michli Krova is something that could not be done before, Taisus argues, and it can only be done now. It can only be done at this point in time now after the Shrita. So, this is the point where you have to do it, and therefore that's not considered to be the Machshirim. The Machshirim is considered something which does not have to be done now. It can be done before, it can be done later. So the example he gives is like Torah's Chalavim. Rav Elchanan explains it as follows, that according to Taisus, Machshirin is something which does not have to be done at the time of the mitzvah. According to Rashi, Machshirin is something which is not an essential part of the mitzvah. So this is only, the Michli Krova is only for the covet of the mitzvah. It's not an essential part of the mitzvah. It also would be in the category of Machshirin. We would also consider it in the category of Machshirin. Therefore, we say, over here Rabbi Lezer is saying, that if you tell me that you're allowed to do Machshirin, even though you're already been mekayim the mitzvah, certainly we should allow you to do the Machshirim, where you have not been mekayim the mitzvah. So bringing the animal from outside the tchum, if we don't allow it, you won't be able to do the mitzvah. Certainly we should allow you to do that type of Machshirim, Machshirim that where you have not been mekayim the mitzvah. Amar lo Rabbi Kiva answered back to Rabbi Lezer, to Mali, why should I not say that there's a chilek between the Machshirim before and after? Why should I question that there's any chilek between them? Of course there's a chilek between the two. Even though we find, correct, that Machshirin after the shlit is deicha the Shabbos, but Sharei Dochsa shlit is the Shabbos. That's because you're already deicha the Shabbos for the shlit. The Torah is matter the shlit to be deicha Shabbos. The Shabbos is nitchas because of this mitzvah. So the Machshirin, we can do the Machshirin as well. But should we say that the Machshirim before the Shechita should also be Doich the Shabbos? Bringing from outside the Tchum should also be Doich the Shabbos. The Shechita has not yet been Doich Shabbos. So how can we be Doich Shabbos from Machshirim if the Shechita has not yet been Doich Shabbos? Another reason is Shema Yimsa Zevach Pasul and Yimsa Machal Shabbos Lamafreya. Another reason is that to be Doich Shabbos before the Shechita, well, maybe it'll turn out that the korban is Pasul. And if the korban is Pasul, therefore the Machshirim that were done beforehand, it'll turn out that he was Mechal Shabbos on something which was a korban which is pasul, and therefore there was no heter to be mechal Shabbos for that. So maybe it'll turn out that the korban is pasul, and therefore it'll turn out that lemafreya this person was being mechal Shabbos for something where there's no heter because the korban was pasul. Correct the Gemara. Well, if that's the case, and your chayshish maybe is pasul, and therefore how can you do something because it might turn out lamafrei was pasul? You should say you can't even shacht it because shemi yimalse zevach pasul and imsa machalse shabbos lamafrei, because maybe it'll turn out that the korban is pasul, and it'll turn out that you did shchita, you did the malacha, and lamafrei turned out you did the malacha shalayla tzarich mitzvah. Ella, therefore we have to reject this answer. But this chilek, Ella ha amar le bereishu parcha. We do reject it. First, Rabbi Kiva told him this taina, Rabbi Lazar, and he asked on it, like we just mentioned, that say this, therefore say the same thing by shchita. So it was rejected. And then he said the previous chilik, the mali im docho, that if you're doicha, the machshir afterwards, because already Shabbos is in the litches. And therefore, there's no reason to say that you're doicha machshir beforehand, or Shabbos is like litches. So then Rabbi Kiva continued to ask on Rabbi Lezer, and he said, if a person is Tomei, is a Tomei Tumas Meis, you have to be mazim with the water of the Para Duma. You have to be mazah with the the water mixed in with the ashes of the Para Duma. Now that's an Issa Rabbanan, and that is a shvus. So I'll ask you a kasha from Hazah. So Hazah Techiach, here Rabbi Kiva said, because she mishum mitzvah, mishum shvus. Rabbi Kiva in the Mishnah, he said that Hazah is a shvus, it's a mitzvah, right? Because it enables a person to be taught to be the Korban Pesach, and nevertheless we say ve'ina deich the Shabbos. So therefore, these other things also, Rabbi Kiva said that Havah Choslatchun, etc. It's afatal tama leilu, that even though they're a shvus, shalfal pishem mishum mitzvah, mishum shvus lo yitchos Shabbos. So that was Rabbi Kiva's taina to Rabbi Lezer in the Mishnah. Tanya, Amar lo Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer said to Rabbi Kiva, Kiva b'shchita hishavtani. You answer me in such a way with shchita. Meaning he looked at it, understood it to be a disrespectful way in order to ask, because obviously the Torah says that shchita is deicha Shabbos. It's obviously that's muferish in the Torah, so you can't make a kal v'chomer to say that shchita should be aser. So he viewed it as being disrespectful. So he said, Akiva b'shchita shavtani. You ask him with shchita, b'shchita teim yisasa. He says b'shchita, his death should be with shchita. Answering in a chutzpahdik way, then his death should be with shchita. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz explains that it's misos sai. He didn't say it directly. He said b'shchita teim misos sai, as not to curse him directly, but he expressed his anger. But nevertheless, we know that Rabbi Kiva was from the Asori Harugei Malchus, so it did have an effect. Amar Rabbi Kiva answered, Rabbi, al tachpirein b'shal sadin. Don't deny at the time that we have this, we're dining over here, don't deny what you taught me. This is the Kabbalah I have from you. That shuz, Hazor is only shuz, and yet it's not Deicha Shabbos. So you see that we're not Deicha Derabbanans. So, well, if it's so that Rabbi Lezer taught that to Rabbi Kiva, my time, so why is he now denying it? Why is he retracting from it? Answered Rabbi Lezer, Ki Hagma, what Rabbi Lezer taught Rabbi Kiva, Hazor the Trumag. When he said Hazor is not Deicha Shabbos, he was referring to Hazor for Truma. If a Kohen is Tomei, he cannot eat Truma. So Hazor, to be Maza on Shabbos in order to eat the Truma, is also. That's where he said Hazor is also. Not Legabi the Korban Pesach. Why is it? What's the chilek? The Truma Gufe Lo Deicha Shabbos. The din of the mitzvah of Truma, to be mafresh the Truma, it's not Deicha Shabbos, it's also to be mafresh Truma on Shabbos. So Hazor for Truma is not Deicha Shabbos. But the shlit of the Korban Pesach is Deicha Shabbos. So the Hazor to facilitate the mitzvah of the shlit of the Korban Pesach, is also Deicha Shabbos. So Gemara says, Rabbi Kiva, Nami ki Oisva, Hazor the Truma Oisva. And Rabbi Kiva was asking on from himself. He was asking from Truma, Hazor Truma. She mitzvah v'mishum shvus. That it's a mitzvah and it's a shvus and it's not Deicha Shabbos. Now v'husa v'Hazor the Pesach k'moisivla. But Rabbi Lezer thought mistakenly that his kasha, Rabbi Kiva's kasha, was on Hazor for Pesach. And that was, therefore, he got upset with him because it's Hazor Pesach. Pesach is Deicha Shabbos, and Hazor is Deicha Shabbos. Masiv Rabba asked the following kasha. Meaning, we were saying over here that the issue was the hazor for truma, and what Rabbi Akiva was asking was from truma, and Rabbi Elazar was under the mistaken impression that he was asking from Pesach. Meaning, the way Taisus explains it is that Rabbi Akiva was under the impression that Rabbi Elazar was being chayzer from the halacha that he said l'gabay hazor for truma. Therefore, he asked him, as from the hazor of truma, to remind him that he initially said that the hazor for truma is awesome. So that's why he asked this kal v'chomer, which he knew was not a valid kal v'chomer, but just to demonstrate the fact and to remind Rabbi Elazar of his initial teaching. But Mosiv Rabbah, that's not so, because we see from the Brisa that Rabbi Akiva's kasha was not from truma. Heshiv Rabbi Akiva v'Omar hazos tamim meis techiach shechal shvi sheloi liyos b'Shabbos v'erev Pesach. The hazor of a person is tamim meis if his seventh day falls on Erev Pesach, which is Shabbos. She mitzvah v'hi mishum shvus. It's a mitzvah, and the hazor is a shvus ve'ena deichas Shabbos, and it's not deichas Shabbos. Elavada, you see hazor the Pesach Hagmre. You see over here that what he taught him was the halacha of the hazor to be mat to bring in the korban Pesach. So that's what he taught him. So meaning, and if that's the case, so why over here is Rabbi Elazar now saying that it should be muter? So why is Rabbi Elazar contradicting that? So if Enochanami, that's what he taught him. He taught him that the hazor is also. Which hazor is also? The hazor for the korban Pesach is also. So now why is Rabbi Elazar saying that I should don and say that the hazor should be muter? More answers Rabbi Elazar, Gemara Isakale. Rabbi Elazar forgot what he learned, what he taught. Now also Rabbi Akiva lad kure Gemara, and Rabbi Akiva made this kal v'chomer, not that it was a genuine kal v'chomer. He knew it was not a real kal v'chomer because obviously the shlit is deichas Shabbos, it's beferish in the Torah. He just said it in a way that it would remind Rabbi Elazar that he had taught that hazor is awesome. Why doesn't he say it explicitly? Why does he say it in a roundabout way? Because it's not covered. It's not covered for his Rebbe to tell him and to show him that he made a mistake. He said it in the way of this kal v'chomer, this kal v'chomer, which was not a valid kal v'chomer, but in this roundabout way, so to remind Rabbi Elazar that he had taught that this shvus would be is awesome. Why isn't the hazor deichas Shabbos? So why is it not deichas Shabbos? What's the reason for that? So the way the Tzlach is learned, we'll learn the next shtickle of the Gemara according to the Tzlach. Meaning this is a kasha according to both Rabbi Elazar and according to Rabbi Akiva. Why is it not deichas Shabbos? Michti tiltul ba'al. It's not a malacha. It's a derabanan, and it's not even a derabanan that is a gather to or a gzera for a malacha. It's tiltul ba'alma. What's the problem of hazor? It's not that it's similar to malacha. It's not doimah to malacha. It's being masakit. It's the Rabbanan b'fnei atzmai. The Rabbanan made this a chumrah on Shabbos, but it's not as a gather or something that has an appearance of a malacha, which in itself is a deraisa. So it's a lesser Rabbanan. So Titchi Shabbos Mishum Pesach, we should say that it's Deichas Shabbos Mishum Pesach. It should be Deicha. No, it does have a gather of a deraisa. It's a getter so that he does not come to deraisa, because we're afraid if you're allowing him to do hazor, he'll come to carry it and be over the malacha deraisa of carrying it, because he might carry it arba amos and shusarabim. Well, according to Rabbi Elazar, what's the problem? So now, according to Rabbi Akiva, we understand, but according to Rabbi Elazar, so even if that's so, but he holds machshir mitzvah deichnas the Shabbos. So even if he does come to carry it, let him carry it. It's machshir mitzvah deichnas the Shabbos. Omre, the more answers, Hani Milech, the Gavra Gufe Chaze. Where do we say that the Machshir is Deicher? That's where the person himself is roy to do the mitzvah, so he has a chiv to do the mitzvah, Ramachuyavela. Therefore, we say he has a chiv to do the mitzvah, he has to do the mitzvah, and he Machshirim as well. But over here, where the person is Tomei, so he can't do the mitzvah right now. He doesn't have the chiv to do the mitzvah because he's Tomei. He doesn't have the chiv, and therefore the Machshirim are also not Deicher Shabbos. He wants to say the following. It should come out the following. Based on what we just say, that a cotton bori, if the child is healthy. So the Gabi the mitzvah of Mila. So the cotton is bori, is healthy, so therefore there's a chiyuv to malim. And if the 8 days of Shabbos, there's a chiyuv to malim, therefore we should say, we should be able to heat up the water for him, even though it's Shabbos, we should be able to heat up the water, to strengthen him in order to do the meal on Shabbos, because since he's healthy, there's a chiyuv to do the meal right now, so there's a chiyuv to do the mila, there's machshirim are doicha, and you should be able to heat up the water. But cotton chaylam, if he's sick, you should not be allowed to heat up the water, to strengthen him, and to be able to enable him to do the mila, because right now he's not healthy. So he cannot, there's no chiyuv to do the mila right now. So based on this chilik that we're saying, of Gavra Chazal, it should come out this chilik, that if the child is healthy, so there's a chiyuv to malam. If there's a chiyuv to malam, you can heat up the water on Shabbos. So you can heat it on Shabbos, even if you could, though you could have heated it at Erev Shabbos, but you can heat it up on Shabbos because there's a chiyuv to malam the child. But if he's sick, there's no chiyuv to malam now. Now, even though if you heat up the water right now, you can strengthen him and he'll become healthy. But no. Right now, there's no chiyuv, so the machshir are not deicher Shabbos. So that's what Rabbah wanted to say. But Amarova, he says no. Well, you're saying if he's a healthy one, you can heat up the water. Well, if he's healthy, why do you have to heat up the water? Elamai, why are you heating up the water? Elamarova, akol chaylam etzol mila, because we consider legabi mila, even a healthy child, that we consider him to be not healthy, that he requires the hot water because otherwise he'll be sick. So therefore, therefore we say that right now he's not chazilei. He's not chazilei because even a healthy child, if you mal him right now, he will be weak and he will not be able to endure the milah. So therefore, you can't do the milah for him because it's a zakana. So therefore, no matter what, you can't heat up the water for him. What do you have to do? You have to heat up the water before Shabbos. But if you didn't, in either case, you cannot heat up the water because it's considered a gavra l'lei chazi. So it should be also in both cases to heat up the water on Shabbos. It would have to be heated up from before Shabbos.